Hi, my name is Peter Yang, and I'm an assistant professor of pediatric neurosurgery at UTHealth Houston and Children's Memorial Hermann Hospital. Today, we will provide an introductory overview of cavernous malformations, a type of low-flow vascular malformation that we treat as neurosurgeons. We will provide an overview of cavernous malformations, also called cavernomas or CAV-MALs, and discuss their overall diagnosis and treatment strategy. Cerebral cavernous malformations are slow-flow vascular malformations that are found in 0.5% of the overall population. Under the naked eye, they appear like reddish-brown mulberries. Under the microscope, they are made of disorganized clusters of endothelial cells without a proper supporting environment, such as smooth muscle cells and appropriate cell-cell adhesion molecules. Thus, blood can leak out from the weak endothelial cell barrier and result in bleeding into the brain. These bleeding episodes are generally slow flow events that tend to cluster together in time. Most cavernomas are sporadic, meaning that they form at random, but about a third of them are associated with familial inheritance. Cavernomas are usually found after bleeding, which can result in a patient experiencing headache, focal neurological deficits like weakness or double vision, or a seizure, depending on the location. A seizure can be the presentation in about a third of cases and does not always mean that the cavernoma has recently bled. A large proportion, around 25%, are found incidentally when undergoing a workup for something else. In terms of location in the brain, about 85% of them are located in the supratentorial compartment of the brain, and 15% are below. Males and females are similarly affected, and multiple cavernomas can be found in about 15% of cases. Diagnostic workup of cavernous malformations include a non-contrast head CT and a brain MRI. This is an example of a patient we saw here at Children's Memorial Hermann Hospital who had a cavernoma in the left thalamus. On MRI, cavernomas have a popcorn-like appearance with mixed signals indicating blood of different ages. There can be a rim of hemosiderin seen on MRI, and there's often an associated deep venous anomaly. For further testing, such as with an angiogram, is usually not indicated since they are angiographically silent. When discussing the management of cavernous malformations, it is imperative to have an open discussion about the natural history of that particular lesion and compare that to the risk of treatment. Prior studies have found that cavernomas rarely bleed if they are asymptomatic or have few symptoms. Once they have bled, there is a clustering phenomenon that occurs, which has a relatively high rebleeding rate in the first 3 years that decreases afterwards. The location of the cavernoma is an important consideration when weighing the pros and cons of watchful waiting versus treatment. Another consideration is that because cavernomas are slow flow lesions, they rarely lead to life-threatening presentations when they bleed. As with any lesion found in the brain or spine, the options are observation, medical management, or surgical management. For select cases of asymptomatic lesions and/or lesions in high-risk regions of the brain, clinical observation may be reasonable, given the low bleeding rate of cavernous malformations. For select cases of patients with seizures attributable to the lesion, treatment with anti-seizure medications is indicated, although new evidence suggests that long-term seizure freedom is more likely if surgical resection is performed earlier. The goal of surgery is to completely resect or ablate the cavernous malformation and obtain tissue for a pathological diagnosis. A deep understanding of the anatomy and surgical corridor are imperative for a safe and effective operation. For open surgery, a craniotomy is performed in which a window of bone is removed temporarily and then put back after resection. Some tools we use in the OR include neuronavigation to match the MRI with 3D space, monitoring eloquent neural pathways, live ultrasound to gauge resection, and high magnification. Laser interstitial thermal therapy is an alternative to open surgical resection and may be better tolerated for deep-seated lesions. The decision on when to operate can be influenced by the location of the lesion and the timing of the hemorrhage to allow for brain relaxation and the natural breakdown of blood products. After surgery, patients at our institution undergo an MRI on postoperative day 1 and then at regular intervals as an outpatient to monitor for recurrence. In conclusion, cavernous malformations are slow-flow vascular lesions that can bleed. Patients can have a variety of symptoms such as seizures, headache, or focal neurological deficits, and MRI is the key to diagnosis. When determining the management strategy, the natural history must be weighed against the risk of surgical intervention. In select cases, surgery can be safe and effective for cavernous malformations. Thank you very much for your attention.